Thursday, is it? What day is it today? Well, actually, we know what day it is. It's Tonka Todd's birthday. So first off, happy birthday, Tonka Todd. Big 5-0. Awesome. Team Todd representing. Hope this video works. It's the best I can do for you, but hopefully it's all right. Hey, Gastrin, and hey, Mark Clover, how are you? All right. So, a couple of things. Excuse me. I don't think I have any particular notes, so I'm actually just going to jump right to it. This is not going to be, so I call this, this is not a read-along, so I'm not going through, my plan is not to go through the great, oops, got myself down there, Dungeons of Thracia adventure. Kind of, it's really a campaign. I don't know what is it. Well, here it says it's called a fantasy game aid is what it was called back in the day when it was released by Judges Guild. It's pretty much a campaign in a book, just because it's so dense. There's multiple levels and things like that. But I'm not going to go through page by page. That's not really the purpose here. Really, the purpose here is to be more surgical and just pick out the stuff that I think is interesting, or that we think collectively is interesting. Oh, Ian, your birthday's on Saturday. Oh, awesome. Is interesting. And then really delve into that. And by interesting, I mean stuff that's, we're here in the Dungeoneering course. So we're really going to be looking at the kind of stuff with the dungeons. Now, Caverns of Thracia was famously made by Janelle Jacaze. If you've read or seen, you've probably heard the term jacazing. I think they often spell it jacaying, but I saw some quote from Janelle. Her name is Jacaze, not Jacay. So that the proper, if you're going to verbalize the name, it should be jacazing and not jacaying. But I think the Alexandrian popularizer, he probably invented, I guess, the term jacaying or jacazing for really bringing a lot of multi-dimensionality to your dungeon, not making this flat, but having different entrances and exits and verticality and all these different things. And Caverns of Thracia is probably the height of the kind of Jacaze style of dungeon. I know there's a few other ones that she did for Judges Guild back in the 70s, but this is probably the one. Brian Smith says, verbiciate. Yeah, perhaps. And Mark in the chat calls it a mini setting. Yeah, it is kind of a mini. It really is its own setting, because there's a little sort of village, and then this is really your classic, here's a village, here's a mega dungeon, go kind of thing. And maybe I will go through it page by page. It does suffer, not its content, but you have to remember this was published, let's see, does it say here when the days is? This is 1979. And you could just a lot of things, the way that these were typeset and everything, it leaves a lot to be desired. Now, one other or a couple other notes. I've had this PDF forever in my collection. I have the original one. Actually, I think I own it twice. And if my wife wasn't doing a work call next to where all my gaming books are, I would have gone and pulled out the original one. I do not know the provenance of this PDF. I don't know where I got it from. I don't think you can find this on Drive-Thru anymore. I think all the Judges Guild stuff has been pulled from Drive-Thru, and I'm not going to get into that. You can do some searches if you're interested in knowing what happened with that, if you want to go down that rabbit hole. I thought I read that somebody either has or is working on, or I don't know what the status of it is, some kind of deluxe version of this, I think. I don't have it. I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure where you can get this. I was able to get a couple. I think I even have 2 copies. I was able to get a couple of copies on eBay, but that was ages ago. I don't know what the pricing is. Hopefully, there is some way you can get this in kind of an affordable way, because it is really a triumph of sort of classic dungeon design. I say classic just kind of because of the because I think this kind of design has withstood the test of time very well, but it's from the classic period, the classic era. I'm not sure where you can get a hold of it at this point. So just keep that in mind. If you're asking me, oh, where can I find it? I am not sure, but do some searching around. Hopefully, I don't know if it was Goodman Games or whoever was. I know they've done is it Goodman Games that's done all the 5th edition, 5th edition, kind of those big books that's got the classic and the 5th edition one? Were they doing this one? I'm not sure, but hopefully it emerges again, because I think everybody should have a chance to at least read it and check it out. Yeah, if somebody knows about the status of if there's some kind of reprint in the works for this in the chat, let me know. So I'm not going to go through the history. I'm not going to do all of that. I'm really going to get right into it. and just try to find some elements. We're probably gonna be doing some back and forths here with the pages in the PDF because we're gonna want to look at the map. We're gonna want to look at kind of what's laid out, and then the maps aren't going to tell us everything, so we're going to probably be zipping back and forth between different rooms and different things to read the descriptions and the different features and how they are, and then back to the maps and so on and so forth. So if you happen to have a copy of Caverns of Thracia handy, just keep in mind we're going to be zipping back and forth between pages. Here we get the first map. This is of the just some entrances. Notice that there's actually a couple of different entrances here, which is another thing that we talked about. The Gygax, we were doing through the Gygax 75 challenge. Gygax himself also mentioned it in terms of, hey, when you're placing the dungeon, also have secondary entrances and exits. So there really was an emphasis or a concept that your dungeon doesn't just have one entrance. It's not just here's the cave, you go in, there's the dungeon. It was, well, maybe here's the cave, but then here's a pit over here that goes down to some part of the dungeon. Maybe there's a secret staircase over there. Maybe there's a teleportation circle in the back of the town that goes there. That you would have different ways of entering the dungeon, and not only different ways of entering the dungeon, but those entrances and some of them might only be one way. Some of them might be useful either as an entrance or an exit. However, you could figure that out. But they would go to different parts of the dungeon. So you might have in a stairwell, or say the classic hole in the ground that goes in the dungeon, that leads you to level 1. Great, fine. But then that pit that was open on the other side of the hill, that may go down to level 4. The teleportation circle might go down to level 7. All these different elements, and because levels tend to stand in or represent in some ways difficulty, you don't want to, the first time you encounter the dungeon, end up on level 7, but you could. That could happen. And you hope as a player that you're able to realize, I'm not on the first level. I better get the heck out of here. Or I want to find that entrance because since I'm level 8 now, and since we've delved down levels 1 through 6, I want a shortcut to level 7 so I don't have to worry about levels 1 through 6 anymore. So I might actively be seeking out trying to find these alternate ways. Let's see. Brian Smith says, entrance to the dungeon at the bottom of a mug of ale, a good rumor to drive business for a D&D tavern. Sure. Yeah, you drink the ale and there's the rumors at the bottom of the mug. So here we could see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. Well, I don't know if all these are entrances. So we have the entrance to room 1. So this is your classic entrance right here. We have a secret entrance that leads down to a different area on the same level. That would be over here. And then there's a hole in the ground. Where's area F? Over C, A, B. There it is. Ooh, barely over there. That goes down 65 feet and could potentially go down even further down into the depths of the city. And I think those are the only entrances there. No. Let's see. Hold on. There's a little left side's foundation. Where's C? Oh, that's over here. If a member of the party can read it, it will state that the writer has found the location of a secret entrance into the caverns below. Oh, I see. So it's no entrances in there. So yes, we have 3 different entrances into different parts of the dungeon. Here we get some nice little pictures. We get level 1, and here we have level 1. So when we talk about jacazing, or if you've read about jacazing, often I think the things that I take away from that is having as non-linear an approach, I guess, as you can have to a dungeon space. That's not to say that every given room has to just be totally crazy with entrances and exits, but I think looking at it as a level, you want to look at what kind of different angles do you have? Are you using vertical spaces at all? Do you have different ways that you can attack it? And by attack, I mean come, go, enter, leave. Same for, for people and or monsters. It doesn't mean that you can't have isolated spaces like here. Okay, we have this room over here. But when looking at it as a whole, we can see that there are a number of different ways you can get around to different areas. Those little, I forget what the name was. We saw that on another thing we looked at. We were talking about these kind of loops where you could sort of have a loop. So you might say, okay, here's this and here's this level, and you kind of have a loop here. You sort of have these different areas where you have intersections of these different paths you can take that, even if they're not terribly complex in and of themselves, they they register as giving the place kind of an organic lived in feel, if that makes sense. Our mind just reads it. And the original article that I saw on that, and of course they didn't come up with that, but maybe this first place I saw them maybe codify these things was talking in terms of video games, but I think it also holds true in terms of your role playing games. I think it makes sense in our minds. I think we often think of places that we work, buildings and things in our lives tend to have sort of loops built in. My building where I live has kind of has a couple of loops. For example, the building that I'm in right now, my apartment building that I live in Brooklyn, it's got essentially it's one building, but it's split into two sides. Each side has two stairways that go up to either side of the house. So each floor kind of has a loop. You sort of have a loops in the building. You have a kind of loop in the lobby. You have obviously access through the elevators. You have access through two different stairwells. And then you kind of have these sort of U's in the hallway that sort of lead between those two stairs. So you can see kind of vertical loops. You can see some kind of horizontal loops. You can see kind of almost figure. You could look at it kind of like a figure eight. We've got two, really 3 or 4 different entrances in the building. We have actually 3. So there's 3 front entrances, 4 if you include the garage, like lead into different elements. We have one kind of door that leads to a back door area, which is not directly accessible, but in terms of if you were a cat burglar or somebody, I don't know, you could probably figure out a way to go around the back side, find the shared wall between the building and whatever's behind it, and then go over that and get in that way. So just in our modern space, as I'm counting it up, I'm like, wow, there's actually quite a lot of different sort of interlocking spaces. And even though all the apartments are not necessarily loops in of themselves, the overall structure of any given floor kind of has these sort of loops built in. And we can see here, we can see here we have our main entrance here, which leads into 1, and that leads in this main area. Then we can lead around and we see there's a secret door in this hallway that goes around into a different kind of loop here. And this is kind of a loop cut off by these ravines here, which we'll get into. But so you can see we have sort of a loop here. We've got, you can see this doesn't intersect, but we've got, definitely a loop around here. That might be a secret door also. So you see these different ways where there are different ways to attack this. And it doesn't feel like, or I guess I should say that you can really get around into a lot of different areas. You have a lot of choices, I guess, that are sort of meaningful. And then you have these kind of wild card areas here with these chasms. And I'm not sure if all of them or just a few of them actually fall down to other parts of the dungeon, other parts of the caverns. So it's not like you just fall into the bottomless pit and you die kind of thing. Janelle, obviously, she designed it in terms of understanding that these places all do stack on top of each other, so that the ravine in here, this area 14, this ravine isn't just a throwaway death trap spot. It actually is a spot that, sure, it's however many feet deep, and we'll go take a look at it in a minute, but could potentially lead you another level. And it is a trap in the sense that if you fall in, yeah, you're going to take a lot of damage, and you're going to be, until you can find a way back up or your party finds their way down to you, it is a trap, but it's also an opportunity. Oh, if you just want to get down there, that's a way you can get down there. And you're allowed, as the party, the freedom is up to you, whether you want to make use of this ravine to get down, use some, I don't know, was it pitons or whatever, chitons, I forget the term, and knock some things in the wall and find some place to secure your rope and rope your way down there, rappel down. Or if you want to try to find the stairs, which looks like they're here, or if you want to, find a different ravine. So it's not just, oh, it's a trap, oh, it's this thing. It's really this kind of open part of the space. And then when you throw on top of it, I think the thing that makes these even more interesting, when you can find wandering monsters and encounters can take place in these areas, then it adds a whole other feature. Stuff could be climbing out of the ravine. You could be being, let's say you had a random encounter, wandering monsters here between 12 and 13, and you hustle through, and maybe it's stronger than you, and you running. Oh, you get to this thing. Well, what do? Do you try to fight? Do you try to climb down? Do you try to trick the monsters? Do you try to like hide? I don't know what's this X area, if you can hide in there and grease this and let the monsters slide down into oblivion. Who knows? But it makes it a really dynamic space, and you didn't have to do a lot to make it dynamic. It's not like you had to set up some kind of crazy Rube Goldberg kind of room with all kinds of contraptions to get it dynamic. It's just because when you have the place that has opportunities for all kinds of different things to happen, then when things happen there, it just opens up all those possibilities. You don't have to sit there and write down, okay, stuff's going to be doing this and this is going to be doing that. You can just play, and it's like, oh, I have a ravine. They've been checking this out, and I roll a random encounter. Sure, they could be coming from behind them in the hallway, but it could also be climbing up the ravine. These are high ceilings. Maybe there's something hiding up in the rafters. That's climbing down. You got a lot of options there. We'll go looking. I'm gonna go, let's see, to 14, and we'll start reading what they say about these areas. I think 15 is talking about the bridge. 24 might be talking about the trap. Let's see. The one interesting one is it looks like between 27A and 27B, this area doesn't have a number, but we'll check those out. Hey, Matty Q, glad you could come and hang out. So let's go to 14 and let's see what's what. So 14, which is referring again to this part of the ravine here, or chasm, whatever you want to call it, is called the upper reaches. This is the upper part of the caverns that are mapped on level 2. From the level of the rope bridge, which is to say this part marked by 15, they descend 50 feet to the floor below and rise from 10 to 40 feet upwards. Various stalactites hang from the ceiling. Among the stalactites are a group of 20 huge bats. And then we got some stats for the bats. These creatures have a wingspan of approximately 5 feet. Torches and normal lanterns moving across the rope bridge will dislodge 1 to 2 of them. Light spells and bullseye lanterns pointed in their direction will dislodge all 20. If the bats score a hit against a character on the rope bridge, that character must roll less than or equal to his dexterity plus 2 on a d20. Only one roll is made. Multiple hits will lower the score needed by 2 per hit. And then falling will do 5d6 points of damage. So already we can see how there's a placed encounter in here that is super interesting. And the interestingness of it really just comes from this particular location. You've got a rickety rope bridge going across. And just like in any kind of, I don't know, horror movie, sort of Hollywood trope, really, is, of course, if something bad's going to happen in the room, of course it's going to happen as you're walking over the rope bridge suspended over essentially what might look to you, probably, if you're the only light in this area, even though it's only going 50 or 60 feet down, probably looks to you like it is a bottomless pit. We'll just take some ice hibiscus tea for the working man, or tisane. It's an infusion, doesn't actually have tea in it, but for some reason I find myself a stickler about that detail. I don't like to call things tea unless they actually have the tea plant in it, and this does not, but it's quite good. Mark, you want to hear the stats for the bats? Bat stats? Do they even give us the AC4, half a hit die? And then I guess, what was that? Is that even supposed to be like a hit point? Or just roll as necessary for hit points? They do 1 to 3 points of damage on a bite, and they got a 24-foot move. I mean, the big thing here is, right, if you're in the on the bridge, it's not so much that the bites are going to kill you, though, of course, at first level, they totally could. 1 to 3 points on a bite means that probably half the time they will just kill you. Except that, of course, it's going to send you over the bridge, which is not level dependent. Because your dex isn't going to be, if you could be level 5 or 6 and you're feeling confident and you come over this way, it doesn't matter. Unless you have really good dexterity and they hit you a few times, you're still liable to go over. Now, you might be more likely to survive the fall because 5d6 damage on a level 1 character is fatal unless you are super lucky. I don't know what the odds are of rolling 5 1s on 5d6, but you're probably toast. There you go. But it's made interesting because of that verticality. They're starting up high. You're not going to really be able to see them. They're attracted to your light, which you're going to have because the place is going to be pretty much pitch black. Remember, in olden times, and I didn't read through, so I'm not sure I don't know if any special text was given here in terms of lighting. And of course, you can change it how you wish. But classically, in dungeons, the denizens of the dungeon don't need any light. It's only people. So of course we don't think bats need light, but they're lizardmen and other things, and technically though they don't need light either. They have basically dark vision. It's just people that don't. So the place could very well be absolutely pitch black. If you want to add lights to it, because we've kind of changed and mostly with how we want to interpret the underworld, then maybe they might have some more idea. But still, right? They're attracted by your light. We are given no note that they can hear you or not, but that's not really our point here. But it's kind of interesting. You could probably play this up a little bit more. It seems like that they don't care about the sounds, just the light. But the fact that they're high above you where you can't be seen, they can obviously see you, at least when you're shining lights on them. And then of course you can get knocked and then fall down. And that's besides the fact that depending on when you get to this particular room, is you may want to take you can then also use that chasm as a shortcut if you want to. Shortcut either way. I mean, I could see an enterprising party, let's say, coming down through this room 13, and even if they don't want to take the ravine down, maybe they drop some rope, secure some rope, and just drop it down there, just to give them another element of another way to escape, potentially. Excuse me. Let's go to 15. What is this? 15. 15's got the rope bridge, 40 feet long. Fairly recent construction. Got some little hemp rope. Bridge is firmly attached at both ends. It would be the work of but one or two sword chops to effectively sever the bridge. They gave it an AC of 8 and hit points of 5. So you have to do it twice, basically. 5 hit points of damage to each of the 2 supporting strands. Due to the dampness of the air, the rope bridge will not readily burn unless first liberally doused with oil. So we're given the information that if somebody were to want to come in and do that, which again, it's just highlighting the verticality here. And also, I think as inside, I don't think it's directly part of the Jacazing principles, but we're given tools to help us adjudicate the things that are obviously going to come up with a rope bridge situation, which is one, the party is trying to, whoops, I was going the wrong way. The party is trying to run across, somebody's chasing them, and the things chasing them are going to try to cut the bridge before the party can get across. Okay, how would that work? It's going to take that much and do that, good. Or, and of course thinking about, ooh, well, it's rope, why don't we burn it? It's damp, it's going to take some doing. Okay, and then of course also if the party may be chasing or chase, either on one end of the thing wants to do it, you have it hand the things. And we understand, this is the one big feature of this room, so why not? I always think about when I'm looking at dungeons is when it's missing. If there's something obvious, like, hey, we want to cut or burn this rope bridge, and you can know, I'm sure as she knew when she was writing it, and as soon as you play test it or anything else, people are going to engage with the bridge in that way, wanting to cut it, wanting to burn it, wanting to avoid having it cut or burned against them. So just put that information in there. Yes, I can do it myself, but then why force me to do it myself if it's the most obvious thing that everybody's going to ask 99.99% of the time? Just give them the information. So that's chasm number 1. Let's see, what do we got in 19, which is chasm number 2. Here we have a second rope bridge. This one's 25 feet long. It's a T-shaped bridge of fairly recent construction. Same things. At waist height, there's a rope, handrail on both sides. The bridge is firmly attached at both ends. Okay, we got all that stuff. Hanging amongst the stalactites. Okay, more bats. Basically the same. But there are light moving along the bridge will alert the guard. But there's a guard there who could possibly see you. So you get a nice, really interesting environmental encounter there with where are you on the bridge? Had the bat seen you? Has the guard seen you? And how do those 3 factions, in a sense, interact with each other? Let's see, what else on this map? And if you guys are seeing anything on the map that seems of particular interest, I definitely want to check out 24. So I think that trap, here she's showing us the chasm, even though I don't think we don't see it directly, but it seems like that pit trap there probably, again, going to drop you down into that chasm. And then 27 and 28. I know there's some other stuff here, but I'd have to poke around to find it. In terms of the verticality and other kind of classic Jacazing stuff. Mark says the Lord of the Rings soundtrack enhances your presentation. I think the Lord of the Rings soundtrack enhances pretty much anyone's presentation. I just got the 4K set. Am I the only one that still buys physical stuff? Okay, so the trap door in 24, or does that go anywhere else? This is a trap that will open on a D6 roll of 1 to 4 and then remains open until pulled shut again. It will drop victims to the pool below the rapids on the second level. The bridge is made of mortared stone. So it is a bridge. So then I guess you would see this as a bridge. But here we have again, right? It's not just a chasm, it's not just damage, it's also dropping you down to that other level. Which means, of course, that you could take advantages. I think one of the things I like about these kinds of setups is, and I'm probably going to repeat this multiple times, too many times for my own good, is that they present opportunities for the party to interact with in interesting ways. So you look at that and say, oh, it's just a trap. Okay, you trigger the trap, you don't trigger the trap, you discover the trap, whatever. But it's not just a trap. Because, like I mentioned before about the chasm, it's also this way up or down for the party, for other creatures, potentially. What if the party decides to go down this way? Because they're going down to different parts of the level, you might have a party thinking, if we take the stairs down, the conventional way down to the next level, and by the way, it could, especially on their first visit, they may not know what level these chasms go down to. So they might be looking for a shortcut. Hey, I want to get down to the bottom of this thing to the last level as fast as possible. Let's see if that's 60 feet, how far down it takes us. They can do that. Like I said before, maybe they want to make, hey, we want to have some other ways back up. We're not sure we're going to meet down there. It'd be really cool if we ended up in a spot we could look up and see our rope dangling up, and we could just grab that rope and shimmy our way back up to safety or out of the line of fire or something of that nature. So you take someone that starts off as in another dungeon is just a trap. And now you've turned it into a trap. It is a trap, but it's also an opportunity for anything. Things I'm mentioning out, things I couldn't even think of. Do the party want to wedge it open? Do the party want to seal it shut? Do the party, what do they want to do? Do they want to just destroy this mortared stone bridge and have the rocks just go down in the chasm? Like, whatever they want to do, they have these opportunities to do, because it's not just a trap. It's this feature of the environment that essentially, while it can function as a trap, that's not its only function. Michael Riggs says they're behind. As Goodman Games updated the Caverns of Thracia, they did good work on those types of conversions. I don't want to... So Michael Riggs, I thought I'd heard that somebody was redoing, or I don't know if redoing is the right word, was doing some kind of deluxified Caverns of Thracia. I don't know if it's Goodman Games. I don't know the status of it. Something I probably should have looked up before I started the stream. I'm not sure. I thought I'd heard that someone was doing it. I know Goodman Games is doing those other ones, so I presumed it might be them. But I don't want to call them out as it being their project when I don't know. It would make sense if it were them, but it might be somebody else. I was just saying that I'm not sure what the status of this adventure is, this book, because you can't get it digitally on drive-thru. I don't know how available it is now in physical copies. If you go to places like eBay or to other kind of used gaming booksellers, I just don't know the status. Yes, as Mark says, I'm hoping somebody knows more than I do. I thought I heard it was coming, and I thought that would have been really cool idea, but I don't know the status. Now, let's look at 27 and 28. Am I going the right way? I am going the right way. So 27 and 28. Ooh, we get Jets of Flame. This is the northern half of an immense hall that appears to have been cleft in half by a deep chasm that extends into the walls both east and west. Any character being so unlucky as to fall into the chasm will take 8d6 of damage as they fall 80 feet. There's a 10% chance that the floor within 1 foot of the edge will crumble away when weight is placed upon it. It will then require a saving throw on a d20 of under the character's dexterity -2 to keep from falling in. The secret door in the north wall is disguised in the ornate panelwork and can normally be discovered only on a roll of 1 on a d6. The room reeks of decaying flesh. Passing between the two northernmost pillars will affect the following. A melee round later, so about, I think at this point we're talking about 10 seconds. Flame will come spouting out of holes in the floor of the half-circle area to the north. The holes are marked by dots on the map. Any character standing over these holes will take d6 fire damage, and any items on their person must save against normal fire. Any character remaining over a fire spout will continue to take d6 of damage per round. After 3 rounds of flame, which leaves no smoke since it results from burning gas, a statue of a demon will appear to rise up out of the flames, all the while magic mouth spells set up a horrible, evil laughing. Ah, yes. Flames pour out of the statue's mouth, and its eyes glitter and sparkle, for they are each a 300 gold piece gem. After 1 to 6 melee rounds, the statue will begin to sink on its platform down to room 53 on level 2. After the head of the statue passes the floor level, 2-foot thick stone panels will seal the shaft closed, and the fires will suddenly die out. The walls of the shaft itself are constructed of a slick, oily, textured stone. The statue will work but once per week. It takes that long for the gas to recollect. Yeah. And Mark says, uh-oh, there goes my necklace of fireballs. Yeah, hopefully that necklace doesn't, the fire doesn't trigger the fireballs to go off. So here we have, so we've set up, okay, so it's 80 feet down in that ravine, and it is not known where that goes. Maybe we'll see when we'll go into the level 2 map where this particular chasm goes. But another interesting thing here, it's kind of given as a throwaway, but it's that throwaway that also just gives opportunities, is the nature of that statue. So the players come in, they go across the thing, they trigger it, okay, the flames go up, the statue rises up out of the floor, ha ha ha, whatever, screams, whatever the magic mouths, horrible, evil laughing, flames shoot off, and then the key part for me is the statue goes down, and it's going down to level 2. So here you have, if the party can think fast and figure out a way to maybe wedge themselves around the statue, another way for them to go down that statue, or if they're down on level 2 and they run in that statue room, potentially can figure out to trigger that elevator again, they could ride it back up. It's not just a trap. It's not just a thing of, okay, a statue comes up on the ground, does something, disappears. It was thought out about, well, where does this statue go? It doesn't just go into the ground, into a pit and stay there. No, it goes to the second level to get another place. And so the party, if they're thinking, if they're smart on their feet, or if they've visited often, they can utilize that in a myriad of different ways, figure out, maybe we can wedge that stone open. Maybe, okay, we saw the thing come in, it came down, maybe we can use, I don't know, some kind of stones, whatever, I forget the names of the different stone spells to open up that the closed shaft. We can get down there, maybe we can wedge it open, maybe we can block it, all these kinds of things. Maybe we just jump on the statue, and then hopefully we'll be able to duck in and stay there and ride it down. All kinds of things they can do. It's more than just a trap. It is this thing that is a trap, but it also presents kind of opportunities. And not just opportunities for a fun encounter, but opportunities that the players can take aware of in their environment. It's adding that other segment, and it makes the place seem a little bit more realistic in quotes, because the party, let's say they just see the room and the statue comes up, whatever happens, statue goes down. They don't really think anything of it. They don't. All these things I'm thinking, ooh, they could do. They don't do, and I would expect most don't, because you're avoiding the flames, you're jumping back. By the time all this stuff happens, you might not even think about, well, let me look to see where the statue goes or anything like that. And there's not that much time, and it's a slide shut, and you're like, okay. But now you go down to level 2, you see the same statue, and now you're going to look up, and maybe you'll see the joins or some of the mechanics or whatever is doing those, is able to make the ceiling at that point slide open. And it's going to feel like this stuff's going to fit more than just like random kind of stuff happening. It's like, oh, this is all related. It feels like it's part of a whole, which I think was really what we want in our dungeons. We want them to feel like it's part of this real space, and the stuff in it takes up space. Yes, this statue did rise out of the floor, but it's not in some weird secret level that's just nobody can get to, but it has has whatever just comes up. No, it exists in this other place. And now I understand as a player, I get that verticality. It's going to make more sense. It's going to feel more like, okay, I get that these two levels are on top of each other. And it might even then trigger me, well, what else? Ooh, what other things are connected? What other places are these going to be interconnections between these two levels? They're not like you often see in a video game or in your regular dungeon, which the levels are totally separate. You go to level 1, and then when you leave level 1, loading screen, level 2, and there's no real, they feel like completely different worlds. And oftentimes, even I think in a lot of dungeons, they feel that way too. You just go down, and then it's a whole separate place, and the two places don't really seem to relate to one another. But here, they're intimately meshed together, and you're able to, as a player, see where they all join up and use those things, don't use them, play with them, kind of as you see fit. Michael Riggs is a physical copy person. I agree. Function of the age, of your age. Yep, probably mine too. I definitely like physical stuff. Let's see how level 2 works. So level 2, I believe this is a river. I think, right? I think that's a river. And it goes from sort of underground. I forget what is it? Is it that there's rapids or something here and it kind of goes, or maybe it's flowing. I forget which way it's supposed to be going. It looks like from that drawing it's flowing towards 28 and out that way, maybe. So maybe there's a pool in 34. Either way, we can see here we've got the would be the I'm guessing the original way you would go up to the first level. We've got detritus, but we can let's see. They don't. I think I'm trying to. Is it this area here? Is that one of the? Is that one of the ravines that they've kind of shaded in there? I don't know. Let's see. We'll just have to read through some of the numbers. This looks like it's definitely following the same shape. Hold on. I wish I could. That's where I wish I could overlay these together. So we got these 4. Now can I do this fast enough? I can't tell. But I bet you it's pretty close. I bet you some of those ravines is where you would splash. I think there's even a note about you could hit the water or you could hit the land. Probably want to hit the water if you can, though, you know, depending on where that water's going, and maybe you're better off hitting the land. I'm not sure. So let's see what we've got down here. 28A, slippery edge. Oh, here's this. So you can go across. You got to slide along this edge of the river. We're not given any particular notes. Let's see. This is Bridge of the Giant Gnome. That's one thing. Sometimes with the Caverns of Thracia, not the Caverns of Thracia, sometimes with the Judges Guild stuff, they're not formatted. I think what I was trying to say at the beginning was that you have to forgive some of the formatting. I don't want to say issues, but some of the idiosyncrasies of the formatting, because one, no one was doing this stuff. I mean, or, you know, not that this is the first one, but everyone's finding their way in terms of how to best format these. I mean, heck, we're still finding our way how to best format these. And then, especially when a lot of these were really small press, indie, mom and pop kind of things, they didn't have access to all the typesetting equipment and expertise that big time publishers had. So, you know, you kind of had to do what you had to do. And if you've looked at something like the ready reference sheets from Judges Guild or some of the adventures, you definitely feel that there was some organizational issues. Certainly when you get far away from it. I'm sure at the time, you know, I wasn't a first generation. I was, you know, when this came out in 1979, I was maybe just barely starting my RPG career as a kid. I didn't have this module. I discovered this as an adult. But you know, I'm sure folks who were really into the scene at that point probably had the good grasp of how everything works and everything is going to. But you get away from it for a while and you look back. Like I said, whenever I pick up the ready reference sheets, I always have to spend probably 15, 20 minutes trying to reorient myself into how they all work together, because stuff just is organized in a way that just doesn't make a ton of sense, I think, as we look back at it now. So you have to recall that when you're looking at these. Tonka Todd says, oh, gotta go. Well, hey, Tonka Todd, happy birthday. Thanks for hanging out as long as you did, and just come back at your leisure to watch the rest of this. So I would have liked, I guess is a really long way of saying, it would have been nice to have kind of a level 2 summary or something else and just kind of help orient us a bit, depending on, especially in this situation in which your party could be hitting a number of different places in here where they might be coming through, depending on where they broke, if they took the stairs, if they fell through ravines, if they happened to spelunk down one of the ravines, something like that. It would be nice to have some little orientation, but we don't get it. So we kind of have to, I think, let's just see, let's look back, because I think they might say where they go. Does it say? Let's see, let's make a shot here. If we went down 24, where would that take us? That takes us to room 31. All right, so we'll orient ourselves on room 31, which is over here. So if we fell down or decided to rappel down or otherwise go down that trapdoor on that stone bridge, we would have ended up in room 31, which is the lizard encampment. The west bank of the cavern at this point is the lair of a small tribe of lizardmen numbering 15. There are other members of this tribe, but they are not present and are elsewhere in the caverns. This tribe owes its fealty to the Minotaur King. They are presided over by a religious leader, a shaman, who operates as a 4th level cleric. He can whip the lizardmen up into a battle frenzy, giving their creatures a +1 hit probability. If he is killed, the lizardmen will either run in terror, continue to fight normally, continue to fight in a battle frenzy, or go into berserker rage that will cause them to fight at +2 hit probability and damage, and also add half again the number of their hit points to their total, since they are fighting without regards to pain. On his person, the shaman has a satchel that contains a potion of undead control, a mummified human hand, 6 teeth of various creatures. All right, I'm just gonna scroll over that. Let's see. He's got some really nasty poison. What else? Let's see. It's getting past there. About 5 lizard braves died. Okay, no, that's still about the poison. Since then, okay, so the shaman has learned of the legend that requires human blood to obtain the treasure. Cast the blood of man upon the troubled waters. But it's a false rumor. That's how the phrase goes. The shaman has been waiting for a living human to come his way for some time. Lizardmen usually only bring back pieces. And then Gruck, is that one of the lizardmen? Or is that, I forget, because you can, is Gruck, I'm not sure who Gruck is. I'm trying to remember, because I think there's one you can befriend or something. Maybe that's Gruck. I'm not sure. In any case, there's a secret door. Okay. So one thing I didn't talk about before, and I'm not sure if this was the first place, but one of the other things that probably doesn't fit under the Jacazing formal theory or formal set of techniques, but there are factions here, and you run into these different factions in different parts of the dungeon. Like they point out here, these lizard men, they owe their fealty to the Minotaur King, and there are other elements that are independent, some of them in opposition, which gives, if we were talking before about, okay, so the environment's going to give us this physical, or physical in a fictional sense, all the different opportunities to take on different things, to make different decisions, take all these different angles that we want to on how to approach the environment. Then having these factions gives us the same thing on that social scale. We don't have to fight everybody. Oh, if we realize, these guys are for the Minotaur King, okay, maybe we'll be for the Minotaur King, or at least we'll claim to. Ooh, these guys are anti the Minotaur King, and we've heard something of the Minotaur King. Okay, we want to help them out. Or maybe we'll say, ooh, we know where they live. We'll rat them out to the Minotaur King loyalists, and that'll gain us entrance. Or we could play both sides against each other, or however it is. Like, it gives you, it's that concept again of giving you opportunities. You could run in there and not worry at all about the factions, just like you could run around and only take the conventional ways in, out through the adventure. At the same time, if you do open your mind and go and engage with in different ways, you're kind of rewarded for doing that. So you may not learn about the Minotaur King and their allegiance, but if you dig around for it, that stuff is there for you. And that's definitely something that this adventure brings out. That's also, I think, a little bit, I don't know, as well known as it is for the kind of physical things, but it also enters into sort of what makes this such a compelling place to adventure, even 30, 40 years plus after it was first put out. I'm going to follow the river here. So here we have, this is going down. I'm not going to worry about that. It looks like it's probably going down to another level. I think that looks like it's a secret door, right? Oops. Can I zoom in here? Whoop, whoop. Yeah, I think those double S's, double secret doors. We have some other double secret doors. Lots of secrets. Notice that too. A lot of secrets. Secret. Gives us a lot of things to discover, and it's not the this is not the fill up the graph paper so that there's no spaces kind of thing, but you might be able to intuit, if you're a player and you're digging around here long enough, some spaces that may seem to to be potentially ripe with secret door action. Maybe, maybe not. Certainly, some of these places. Let's see if you're coming through. If you came in, and that's another reason why having some of these different entryways can be important, because if you come down, let's see, where's the way you might go up? So if you came up through here, and you don't catch any secret doors. You come in this area, you come into this chamber here, you get some stairs here, take some stairs up, coming around. Okay, we might not get there, but then you're going to come around down here. You figure out a way over the. Is there a bridge? There might be a bridge here. So you come out here, and then it looks like no, and you're going to end up in basically a big loop. Oh, you are going to be able so that you can get down. I was wondering if it was even going to. You're even going to. Oh wait, no, that's secret also. So you're kind of in this big loop. If you start finding the secrets, suddenly it opens up some other angles. Actually, wait a minute. This I forgot. This is a secret door. So this you might not even see that. You might just come up and then you're in this hallway. So I think if you ended up here, you would definitely start to be looking for secret doors because there's nothing else there. Mark says, eat some cake and roll some dice, Tunkatot. Absolutely. Let's see what else is going on this room. I'm trying to look if there's anything else that speaks particularly. I think the things to note here are all these interconnections. Lots of secrets to discover. This is if you're running classically. I think the other thing is that it's probably an interesting or kind of a topic, right? You have a class. So of course you could be looking for secrets. And now, like I was saying just now, I'm saying, okay, if you come down those stairs, and if I'm reading this map correctly, if you came from those particular set of stairs, you're literally going to end up in this elbow corridor with nothing in it. Nothing. So you're probably going to be compelled to think, well, why would they have stairs coming down to just this elbow dead end? There's got to be a secret somewhere. I imagine then at some point you're going to discover one of these. However, I think the other part, and you might actually, you know what? It looks like you have to get this. I was looking at the wrong stairs because this goes in this other area. But just assuming you come into this area, even through the secret doors here, that was my bad. You're going to be looking for secrets. Because why would you have a secret door going down the stairs that just led into an elbow? But the other thing to consider, by having all these secrets means that you're continually, if you've got an elf in the room, let's say, who gets that 1 on 6, I think it's a 1 in 6 chance to detect secret doors on entering a room. That's only a 16% chance, or 16.666 whatever percent chance per die roll. But the more dice you roll, the more chances are that that's going to trigger. And the same thing for if you're just going to say, well, someone just does I look around for secret doors or whatever. I look for spaces where the creases in the wall that shouldn't be there, whatever it is. And even if you're going to then give them a 1 in 6 chance roll. If you just have one secret door, you're asking your players to get lucky. You're going to have to roll and hit that. You're going to have to do, and hit that one and get that 16.666% chance. Otherwise, you're going to miss it. But if you've got a dozen of those, then chances are your party's going to hit some. They're not going to hit all of them, probably, but they're going to hit some. And that's going to feel rewarding to them. It's certainly going to feel rewarding if you're playing that elf and you're going around doing your thing and you're acting all Legolas-like or Elrond-like, and you're saying when you enter every room, do my elven eyes pick up any strangeness here that no one else can detect because they're not elves and I am? And you make that roll, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, man, like it worked. That's, bam, score one for Lothlorien, whatever it is. So having just one secret door puts the odds firmly against the party. But if you've got a bunch as you're wandering around, chances are you're going to get one of these. You start off in 31. You're going to roll a 1 in 6 for that. You maybe even don't make that, but then you're going to get to roll, maybe roll here, maybe roll here. If you end up somewhere here, you've got a whole bunch to roll. You've got rolling here. You've got 8, 9, 10, 12 secret doors. Suddenly it's like, yeah, you're going to hit one. I'm not sure which one you're going to hit, but you're going to hit it, and it's going to feel good every time you do hit that, or every time the person comes in with the same thing kind of with traps, right? If you have one trap, then it feels like the guy with the 10-foot pole is doing all kinds of stuff kind of for nothing. But if you have a bunch of traps in different things, then maybe it feels like, okay, well, they're not going to catch every trap this way, but they're going to catch some, and it's going to feel really good to them when they do catch those traps. Let's go down. Let's see. Ooh, it's already 52 minutes, so I want to get down. Oh, there's the, okay, Gruk is the shaman. All right, that's what I was missing. Let's go down to level 3. Get some close-ups. Level 3A. Here we get the nice vertical cutout. So once again, we could see how JK's had really thought about the relationship between these levels. And I like that we get the sense of, even looking at this, we can get the sense of those ravines. Here's one ravine, here's 2 ravines. We don't get the 3rd ravine, but maybe the 3rd ravine doesn't really enter into it. So we can see here visually how you can drop down from level 2 to level 1 to level 2, and then we get a sense of their vertical depths, how far away they are each other vertically. And now we can see that there's a big vertical drop down to level 3, which then goes level 3A, which then drops big vertical into the kind of the hollow earth style level 3. Hey, Pink Giant. Let's see. Mark says that oops, scrolling up. The thing about old school dungeons is that secret doors were meant to actually be secret. The convention was not to ensure that secret doors were blank. The idea was to return many times the same dungeon mini setting. Once you've mapped a goodly portion, you might be aware there might be a secret door in one place or another, then go and specifically search those suspected areas. Yeah, I think that's another thing is, yeah, you were definitely in something like Thracia, you were expected to be coming and going multiple times. You were not expected to go through this in one shot, which is an important thing to also consider when you're both traps and secrets, when you're rolling. And again, I'm just assuming you're rolling the dice to see, right? So fictional positioning and all that. But even if it just came down to rolling 1 and 6 to discover something, you were assumed to be moving through there different times. You go in, you go out to rest up, then you go back in, you find some different things, you come out to rest out, then you go back in again, and you're trying to sussing your way out. You're not going through in one shot. So yes, everywhere you're going, not necessarily the same path, though you might, because once you've mapped out an area, you're probably going to want to slowly expand your map. But the first time you go in the dungeon, you get to that T and you go left. The second time you get to the dungeon, then you go right. That sort of thing. You may try to find the room that gave you trouble the last time. So yes, there is also that assumption, is even on the chances where you may be having something that has a very low chance of happening if you're only hitting it once. Let's just say if you put everything together and you wanted a bottom line and say, okay, there's a 5% chance that they're going to figure this out. Just whatever, the Vegas odds, the dungeon bookies give us the odds at 5% chance they're going to find a particular secret door. That's if they just getting one shot, but they might have 5 or 6 shots at it, just in terms of moving through one way, moving through the other, doing everything. So that definitely increases their chances of finding stuff. But yes, there was always the dungeon was not created so that you either had to, or there was some assumption that you were going to find all the secrets. I mean, that's another reason why you want to keep delving in there. So you want to see, like, did we miss anything? Is there anything that we found? Does anybody give clues for something? Did we discover a pattern that we missed before? And that pattern then reveals to us that maybe this room that we thought nothing about, then suddenly has something. There was all these things that were entering into it. Let's see. Yeah, the DM is rolling. Yeah, I'm not talking from the players don't necessarily know the DM's rolling, but I'm saying is that as the DM, because if we're looking at the running the dungeon, we're looking at it from the DM's point of view, not the player's point of view. As the DM, even though you might say they only have a 5% chance, the fact is that the more times they come through, the more those chances are going to rise. That just by happenstance, somebody does something to find it, or you have an elf in the party, or a dwarf, or someone else, and one of their abilities triggers, because that's also on a GM roll. I'm talking from the GM perspective. The players may have no idea, but as a GM, if you were looking at this and wondering, like, boy, that's kind of harsh, there's such a small chance they're going to discover it. If they're just doing it once, sure, but maybe they're going to be in there 5 or 6 times, in which case those rolls, those odds continue to just pile pile up. The odds keep flying. You know, you're not rolling one die necessarily, you're rolling a bunch of dice, which is why, you know, when you're looking at whether something's going to trigger or not, whether good, bad, whatever, you want to consider how many times am I going to trying to trigger it. If I'm going to be rolling and I just need to roll 1 out of 100, yeah, it's a 1 in 100 chance if I'm only doing it once. But if I'm going to be doing it 10 times, that, you know, that changes the odds. So just, it, you know, it's that kind of thing that I think it's interesting to be aware of with these different kind of systems, especially when you may be looking at things kind of out of time, out of the original context. Ian says every NPC is a PC of their own story. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. All right, let's go down to, I'm just going to skip down to, I know I'm already at almost at an hour, so let's get down to level 3. Ooh, look at that. We even switch and get a hex map. 1 inch equals 40 feet. Oops. So now we've dropped into kind of the hollow world. I don't know if there's too much. It is kind of cool though, right? Another way of having these different environments. So remember, if we go back to level 1, we're in kind of a fairly, I'll zip up here. We got level 1. In terms of, remember when we were doing it, if you were following the Gygax 75 stuff, Gygax was like, well, on the first level, you might have something, what was it, like on level, I forget what he said about level 1. It was like level 2 might be full of fire elementals, and then, or, you know, or level 3 might just be a whole maze, and then level 4 will be filled with dragons, you know, something like that. And it was like, wow, okay, like that's really feels kind of random and funhousey, sure. But I think part of what we was getting at is that the levels kind of have their own character to them. And I think one of the things that Thracia does extremely well, if we could take away from it, is the levels have their own character, and yet they don't feel maybe as disconnected to each other as they do when you go from the room of fire elementals to just the weird maze filled with goblins or something, and then going down further to where it's just wall-to-wall dragons that whatever. And it's like, well, how do they, I mean, yeah, you could probably try to figure out like, well, how does this stuff all work together? Well, maybe I don't know, maybe it does. Like, think about it long enough, you could put a unlimited amount of monkeys to work and an unlimited amount of typewriters, and maybe they'll figure it out. But in the moment, you might be like, that stuff doesn't really fit together at all. Now we take Thracia and you go from, okay, we've got this fairly ordinary dungeon layout, but it's got this verticality with these chasms that are not just holes in the ground that lead to death, but they lead down the lower level. And then you come down to level 2, and now you have, it's true, you have some ordinary dungeon, but then you also have these kind of underground cavern areas with a river, underground river flowing through it. So it hasn't totally changed up the character into something that has no resemblance to the level above it, and yet it is substantially different in terms of, yeah, there's not as much conventional dungeon, and you have these other areas, open caverns, rivers. Then you drop down again, and now you go from that into this weird kind of hollow earth area where suddenly, you know, it's like you've gone into Jules Verne, Journeys to the Center of the Earth kind of thing. And it makes sense in terms of the history that's presented, how much of that the players get a hold of, I don't know, but you can kind of imagine it, I think. So it has that kind of imaginative quality of you can feel like, oh my gosh, maybe this fell into some kind of cataclysm and fell to the bottom of this thing, and these other things kind of ended up on top of it. But it also is different. If they've been used to going through dungeons, now they've opened up into this big, massive area that presents different opportunities and different challenges while still feeling like it's part of the same fictional universe. And of course, the stuff relates in terms of the story and everything. So it doesn't feel totally disconnected. It feels of a piece. Feels of a piece, they say. Let's see, I'm missing stuff in the chat. Pete Giant says it'd be nice to see it in a similar layout to OSE modules. Yeah, I don't know. Whoever is doing it, redoing it, if they are giving it a new coat of paint, maybe they are going to do it. You know, there's just a lot that we've learned about presentation of dungeons over the last 40 years. Ian asks if this is all to scale. Yeah, it's 40 feet an inch. Let's see, what was level, hold on, what was level 2? Level 2, hold on, what's level 2? Does level 2 say? No, level 2. It's actually it's the same scale. Level 2, an inch is 40 feet. It's just outdoors. So it is bigger in terms of it's a double page map instead of a single page map, so it's larger in that sense. But this half page area is the same. But yes, it is. It is outdoors. It is outdoors. Mark, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's that I'm concerned about it, but I think remember that I'm not. Part of this whole series and part of the whole deal is there are a lot of folks who didn't grow up with this style of play, this kind of dungeon design. They're coming from very different areas, and I think it's important to point out to folks who may not understand it when they might look at something and say, "Well, that's just kind of unfair." Oh, this is unfair. Oh, this is something is to give them this other things. Now, did Janelle go through and put in secret doors with the concept of how they were doing it? I don't know. I can't get into the minds of the people who were running them. I can't say whether they took that into account in their designs or not. Certainly, they didn't talk about it in development blogs because development blogs, such things didn't exist. I don't know, but I'm simply pointing out to folks who may come at this, which I'm hoping people will, people who are OSR fans or want to just check out classic dungeons. And if they look at some of this askance and say, boy, some of this seems pretty hard with all these secret doors, is pointing out that the more chances and the more opportunities your party comes into contact with these things, the more likely they are in some way, doesn't necessarily mean with a majority chance, that they're going to be able to expose some of those secrets. And so it may not seem as, to someone who might look at this for the first time, it may not seem as hopeless from a GM's perspective. I mean, I've thought like, oh, if I do this, right, it's kind of like the the whole movement against having traps that are hidden because they're totally unfair. It's like, well, sure, but then maybe there's other elements that you could think about that kind of change that equation a little bit if you think of them. So I'm just trying to highlight that. I'm not trying to say that this is why it was designed this way. Simply that but it is an outcome of that design sense. If you have an elf in your party rolling 1d6, chances are that if you put have a bunch of secret doors around, they're going to find at least one of them, probably, given if they're going to go through it multiple times. Not that necessarily that's what the GM was thinking about when they did it, but it is an outcome of that design, whether it was intentional anyone or not. Ian says, oh, okay, yeah, talking about OSC's layout. OSC's layout is excellent, for sure. I don't think I'm trying to be. I hope I'm not coming out as defensive, Mark. I'm just trying to explain why I say what I say. I hope I'm not coming off as defensive. I mean, it's I mean, just trying to point out, like, I would love to get I know Janelle's still around. I don't know if she's still doing video, because I was thinking, like, I don't know if she does interviews or anything, but I would love to actually talk to her and put some of these questions in terms of what her design, or they're actually probably something I probably should have looked at before I did the video, was see if there has any quotes from her about her design process, because it must be cool. Because I know I read a while back that she went from doing these kinds of games, doing tabletop gaming, to going into computer games, and then I think she worked with Bungie. She might have even worked on Halo or something. So I know she's done interviews. We need to go back and look and say, well, what was your thought process on these things? I think people come at it with different ways. I think certainly as a personal, just doing dungeons for my own game, I don't necessarily go through all these things. I try to think about kind of like what makes sense for the space. I think, like Mark said, like, yeah, they're trying to hide the treasure. They're trying to do these things so they come up with these other things. But I think at the same time, if I were working on a dungeon that's going to be published, I would probably start to think about some of those meta things a little bit more. I think those will more enter into it. Not that I want to have that be the real driver, like the sole most important driver, but at the same time, I think I'd want to be aware of it. I think I'd want to be thinking about some of those things, or I think I would just start thinking about it even if I didn't want to. Maybe that would be a bad thing. But I probably would think about some of these kind of meta questions. I think it's just natural once you start thinking about, at least for me anyway, once I start thinking about what public consumption, a wider consumption than mine. But these are all open questions, really. But look at that. We are at the hour. I hope this was useful. As I mentioned at the top, this was not intended to go through and do a room by room read through of Caverns of Thracia. I might do that at some stage. I don't know. We'll we'll see how it goes. There's a lot here. It is. I think the other thing is it's got a high density. The actual the module in terms of thickness, we're at 65 pages. How much does it go at the end? So we're talking about 80 pages, maybe cover to cover. All right, it's not super thick. It certainly doesn't compare to say some of the 5th edition campaign books, but it is very dense. There's a lot here, and I think some of the things I didn't get to talk about too much, I just mentioned a little bit the faction play. There's definitely, like Mark was saying, it is kind of built like this environment that's kind of ticking along, and the party gets to come in and sort of interact with it as they see fit. And at some point, you're gonna, as a party, you're gonna have this ability to really just sort of make your own goals as to what you want to do. Do you just want to loot what you can out of the place and escape? Do you want to try to put a stop to the nefarious things that are happening down here in the depths of the caverns? Kind of, what do you want to do with it? It's definitely set up in your sort of classic mega dungeon setting, or there's the village is kind of it's pretty close by. And that point, I don't think they even give you a map because the village is super close, but the entrance is kind of hidden, so it's not something that everyone's tromping around to get to. And then you've got the different factions you can interact with, and then you have these wonderful physical spaces that give a lot of different elements for the party to deal with kind of as they want to. So it really brings together a lot of interesting stuff. And hopefully somebody does. Like I said, I don't know the provenance of this PDF. I've had it forever, but I don't remember where I got it from, how I got it. I do own the physical copies. Hopefully, like I said, it's not on drive-through anymore. I'm not sure when it's going to be coming back to some kind of digital distribution. I don't know if it's Goodman Games or somebody else. Like I said, I keep saying I think that somebody's redoing it. I'm not sure what the status is. Hopefully, whatever they're doing will result in some kind of digital re-release so that people can get a hold of it, because it is, in so many ways, just an amazing adventure in that kind of minimalist classic style. Because there's not a lot of narrative in here. There's not a lot of, well, here's all these things happening in a story way. It's really all given to you is here's this immense sandbox that we're plunking down here. All these forces are in motion, and then the party just gets loose in there and just go, and you get to do it. It's really cool, and I just thought I wanted to share it. I know there's Caverns of Thracia, I think, gets brought up all the time, but I realized I hadn't done anything with it, so I thought I could make it work in a way that gets some stuff done in the time that I have. Let's see. Terrence says their mission is to open a Subway sandwich shop in every dungeon level. What about a Panda Express? No Panda Express, Terrence? Anyhow, and hey, Tonka Todd, yet again, before I head off, happy birthday. I see some folks that joined late. I'm going to be signing off, but feel free to go back to the beginning of the stream and watch it up, and just leave any comments you have in the comments, I suppose. Everyone else, if you give a thumbs up on your way out, that would be awesome. If you found yourself in here and not subscribed, and you feel like subscribing, that would also be awesome. Other than that, have a great rest of your day. Don, nice to see you. Sorry I didn't get to chat more, but next time. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching and listening to this. Happy birthday, Tonka Todd. Game on, and I will talk to you later.